Hello everyone. Today I'm going to explain the filter function. The filter function is a handy tool within Excel to analyze a set of data and return information based on a criteria that's entered in the formula. Let's get into some examples. I'm going to use this list of SKUs for my data set to demonstrate how to use the filter command, the filter function. So I'm going to come over here. And what you want to do is you want to type your formula into the first column where you want the information spilled to. So type in the word filter, open bracket. The first thing it's looking for is the array. Now the array is the set of data that you're going to pull out based on the criteria you enter later in this formula. So let's say I go into here and I'm going to highlight this whole area. And that's going to become my array. I'll hit a comma to go on to the next parameter, which is the include statement. Now, the include statement has to be a test of some sort. Something is equal to something else. Something is greater than something else. Something is less than something else. In this particular case, we're going to do an equal to include statement here. So I want to pull up a list of SKUs that belong to Marv. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight the list of buyers. I'm then going to put an equal sign, and I'm going to click on this cell that contains Marv's name. I'm then going to hit another comma, and it's now going to ask me for my if empty statement. The if empty statement is an optional statement, but I would highly suggest that you use it. What this does is when it's going through the data and testing it, if it doesn't find anything, it's going to put into this cell whatever it is. It's going to put whatever you type here. So you can choose to put a 0 there. You can choose to put some sort of statement, such as not found. Now, if you're going to put a text statement, it's important that you surround it in quotation marks. I'll close my bracket. And now when I hit enter, I get a list of all the SKUs from this list that belong to Marv. Now, there's a couple of things that you should remember. Like I said, the array is going to be the data that it's going to pull. So if I were to take this data and change the column, so now it's only highlighting SKU, description, art type, and status. When I hit enter, it's only going to return SKU, description, art type, and status. Another thing you have to be careful about is that you're highlighting all your data. For example, let's say I go up here and I highlight this and I am going to make this match and I hit enter. Now we're only getting 2 SKUs show up from Marv. And you may be going, well, how come this SKU here isn't showing up? That's because we didn't highlight that line in our data set. So you just have to be careful about how you highlight how you choose your data set. Now, a couple of things that you also have to be careful about is, let's say I change my data set so it's like this, but I don't have this having an equal number of lines. So I've got, lines 2 to 23 highlighted here, but in my include statement, I've highlighted row 2 all the way to 30. When I hit enter, you'll see I'll get this value error message. Now to show you some other ways that you can use the include statement, let's say I take this and I bring it over to category number. So now what's going to happen is it's going to look for the category number. Now I have this set up right now to look in cell S6. I'm going to move it up here to cell S5 where I've got a category number. And what I can do is I can instead of using the equal, I can use the greater than symbol. So now when I hit enter, you'll see I get a list of all the SKUs that are greater than 30. And you may be going, well, how come it didn't include the category 30? Well, because that's equal, not greater than, which I can change by going and typing the greater than or equal to symbol. And now I get my category 30. It's also possible to do a filter on more than one criteria. This is how you would do it. So first thing, type in the word filter, open bracket. It's asking me for my array. So that's the range of information I want to look through. Then put in your comma, and now it's asking you for your include. Well, I want to include any category 30 where the buyer is Hannah. So I'd go open brackets. I'm going to highlight all the data in this category number column, and I'm going to go equals to, and I want it equal to 30. I'm just going to close the bracket for that, and I'm going to put a multiply sign in here, and I'm going to open up a new bracket, and I'm going to highlight all the buyers here, and I'm going to go where it equals Hannah here, and then I'm going to close that bracket, and then I'm going to put a comment there to let Excel know that I've concluded the include statement. Now I'm just going to put in my if empty statement. I'll put in no data, close the bracket, and now I'm getting a list of all the category number 30 and all the SKUs where Hannah is a buyer. The way I've done this as a AND statement. So it has to meet both of these criteria in order for it to include. And just to show you how that changes, if I change this from 30 to 10, you'll see that I now get all the items that are in category 10 and Hannah is the buyer. When analyzing data using more than one criteria, it's important that you understand the difference between AND logic and OR logic. With AND logic, both criteria have to be true in order for the whole statement to be true. If either one of the criteria is false, then the whole statement is false. On the other hand, with OR logic, if either one of the criteria is true, then the whole statement is true. Whereas in order for the statement to be false, both criteria have to be false. It's possible to do an OR logic filter lookup. And the way you would do that is where I've put the multiply sign, you would just change it to a plus sign. So now in that case, where my category is 20 and my buyer is Hannah, all the SKUs that either have category 20 or Hannah as the buyer or both will show up here. So we have 20, category 20, category 20. Then we have all these ones with Hannah. This one has the 20, some more for Hannah, and the category 20. I've typed in this formula here where I've said, well, here's my array, and I wanted to filter it by where the buyer number is the value of cell R2. So my cell is R2 is saying 10. So it's giving me the list of SKUs that are in category 10. But you'll see that it is in no particular order. What it's doing is it just starts at the top here and looks at every row. And as it finds data, it will just enter it onto your output area. Now, let's say you wanted to sort this. You could use the sort command. So to use the sort command with the filter command, you just go type in sort, open bracket. Now, the first thing the sort function is going to ask for is the array. Your filter formula here will act as your array for the sort function. So I'm just going to come back here and I'm going to type a comment here. The next thing it's going to do is it's going to ask you for the sort index. What the sort index is the row number, or I should say the column number of what you want it sorted by. So let's say I want it to be sorted by the buyer name. That would be the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th column. So I would just enter in the number 6 here, and I'll enter in a comma. And the next thing it's going to ask me is, do I want it in ascending or descending order? I'm going to make this in ascending order. And when I close the bracket and press enter, you'll see that it's now sorted by the buyer name in alphabetical order. If, say, for example, I would like to sort it on another field, maybe I'd like to have it sorted by the vendor number. Well, in this particular case, the vendor number is in column 7. So I would just go in here and change the sort index to number 7 and hit enter. And let's say I want it to change the order. Maybe I want it to, instead of going from the smallest number to the largest, I want it from the largest to the smallest. I would come into here and I would just change this to descending. And when I hit enter, now it's sorted it from high to low. Some of the common error messages that you might get when using the filter function are value, calc, and spill. Now, the most common reason why you might get these error messages, in the case of the value error message, this is usually because the rows are not matching between your include statement and your array formula or array statement. So in this particular case, with the array formula or the array statement, I've specified rows 2 to 30, and here I've specified rows 2 to 21. So they're not matching up. So this confuses Excel, and so it produces the value error statement. The next one is your calc error message. This is when you don't enter an if empty statement and it can't find the data you're looking for. So let's say I type in 50 here, you'll see I'll get all the SKUs that have the category number 50 in there, but if I change it to 70, you'll see it doesn't match anything here. So it's going to give you this calc statement because you haven't entered something in the if empty. So if you can fix that by just entering something in here, and now it will, no found, not found. So now it will give you a statement that's probably a little bit more obvious. The spill error message occurs when you type the formula into this one cell, and what the filter function is going to do is it's going to spill into the necessary area that matches your criteria. Now let's say, for example, I'm just going to change that to 20. And I'm going to highlight, I'm just going to copy some cells here. And if I copy some information into here, when I'm entering category 20, this is not a problem because it doesn't need that many rows. But when I type in category 30, you'll see I'll get a spill message. And if I click on that cell, you'll see what area it's attempting to spill into. So because you have this information here, it doesn't allow it to spill into those rows. So if I take that information out of there, now you'll see it'll allow it to spill into those rows.